Hi, Jared here. Back to discuss the COVID-19 Forecast Hub. It's been over a month now, and in that month, COVID-19 has settled down a bit due to all the quarantine, stay at home, all those kind of measures, but now it's ramping back up. A number of changes have occurred on the Hub site. We've been continuing to collect data, but we've also created a permanent or static website that provides a bit more information about us as a hub. So you can feel free to go there if you go to COVID-19forecasthub.org, and there'll be a link in the description down below. You can learn a bit more about what we're trying to do, who all is involved in this work, here's the team, what the ensemble model is, and so forth. You can also learn a lot more about the community of teams that are providing forecasts. So if you go to the community part of this COVID-19forecasthub.org website, you can find a bit more information about all the teams that are providing forecasts. You can go to their website and also to their forecast data if that's of interest. On the visualization of the forecasts, let me just go back and reload this. If we look at the default that you're shown when you first get to the page, it's changed a little bit. First off, we now have branding related to the COVID-19 Forecast Hub naming that we've adopted. We have over here, in terms of a more practical effect, we now have 3 different options of what you can show on the plot by quickly clicking these buttons here. We have all, none, and ensemble, and the default is the ensemble. I meant to, but I have not done it yet, to create a video just about the ensemble and how it's constructed, but you can think of the ensemble right now as an aggregation of all the forecasts into a single forecast. And we decided to make this the default because there are now enough models that it's getting a little bit hard to discern what's going on if you show all of the models by default. And so now we're defaulting to just showing the ensemble, but of course you're free to select any other models that you want to add to this figure. The other change to the default is a change to using 95% intervals rather than the 50% intervals that we had been using before. I think this is a much more reasonable way to show the forecast as a default because really the 95% says that we're 95% confident, perhaps, probably even less than that, that this is where the new data are going to be, is somewhere in between that range. Whereas when we were using 50%, the way to interpret that would be that we're 50% confident inside here, but that means that we're 50% confident that it's going to be outside of there. And so really, it feels like a 50% interval, the realization of these forecasts could be anywhere. So I like keeping on 95% to see where we're going. There are some data artifacts that I wanted to point out with the current week's data, especially it can be seen if you go to the incident death. And even here on the national forecast, what you can see is what appears to be a very large uptick between weeks 26, the epidemic week 26 and 27. And that big uptick was primarily caused by 3 different states, and each of them have their different reasons, but those states are New Jersey. You can see New Jersey had a huge uptick here. New Jersey had this big uptick because they are now reporting probable deaths in addition to the confirmed COVID-19 deaths. And when they made that change, they added all of the historical probable deaths all in the same week, this week 27, and thus you see the big, huge jump up. Ideally, what we might have done is to apportion these deaths back in time to the week when they actually occurred, but at this point, we don't have the data available to do that. The second state that is showing some differences here is Delaware. So Delaware, again, has this big jump up. And apparently in Delaware, the long-term care facilities were not reporting deaths. We're not exactly sure why that was occurring, but now those deaths are being incorporated into the data that Delaware is reporting. But again, just like with New Jersey, all of those deaths that had occurred in the past in those long-term care facilities were all put into this week 27, resulting in a large number of incident deaths for that week. The last state here is Mississippi. Mississippi had, I guess, some kind of failure of their reporting system, which caused a backlog in when they were able to provide their forecasts. and that resulted in too few forecasts in week 26, and then too many forecasts, or too many, sorry, not forecasts, too many reported deaths in week 27. So that's something we also need to deal with. Frankly, from a perspective of the hub and a perspective of how do we visualize this and evaluate different forecasts, we're not quite sure how to deal with these large kind of jumps where we don't yet have the information about why they occurred. Right, clearly, the next forecast is not going to be up here. The next forecast will be somewhere down here. And this right here is really just, you can think of it as a data artifact in terms of the way the data are reported. But anyway, I wanted to mention that there are those artifacts and issues that we are dealing with. The other big headline, as we're all hearing in the news, right? COVID-19 is increasing, and in particular, the headlines that I see are for Florida and Arizona. So I thought I would show what we're looking at for the forecast ahead in time in both Florida and Arizona. So here's the forecast for Arizona. Here is the ensemble prediction along with its uncertainty. You can too, if you want to, look at all the different models, right? A number of different models for Florida. There's a huge wide range in what those different models think is going to happen. And again, the ensemble is the summary of what all those models are saying. And basically what we're looking like in Florida from these forecasts is that the incident deaths or number of deaths that are going to occur on a weekly basis appear to be at least as bad as they were in, say, the April-May timeframe, but possibly much worse, right? So if this is around, say, what I guess it was 250, right? Up here, we might be around 2,000 possible deaths per week. So almost a, I don't know, 8 or 9 fold increase over what we saw back in April and May. So this is a serious situation in Florida, and at this point, all the models seem to be, not all the models, but in general, the models are consistently saying, yes, it's going to get worse. And you can see this curvature here seems like it's going to indicate that even going further into the future, the expectation at this point in time is that it's going to get even worse. So we're looking for Florida to put in some measures to reduce the impact of COVID-19 there, but we'll see what happens. The other headline that I've seen is Arizona. So here's what the forecasts are currently saying for Arizona. Somewhat a similar story to Florida in that even our lower bound here on our 95% forecast interval is saying that we're going to have about as many deaths in the next 4 weeks per week as we had back in the May timeframe. But again, on the upper side of things, this could be anywhere from what we had in May, which was, somewhere around 200, a little bit under, to up to, in 4 weeks, 800. So about 4 times or 5 times as bad as it was in the May timeframe. It does seem like Arizona is doing some things to stem the flow of coronavirus there. So that perhaps is why this ensemble has a downward curvature, indicating that although it's upward, things are getting worse, they're not getting worse increasingly fast. All right, that's what I have for an update for this week. If you have a particular interest that you want me to talk about in the future, please go ahead and comment down below, and I will take what I do for future videos from those comments. All stay safe, wear those masks, social distance, and we'll get through this.